The Toronto Sport Card Spring Expo is right around the corner for all of you sports card and sports memorabilia fanatics out there. And as usual, it will take place at the International Center in Mississauga. And joining me now to talk about the 4-day event is the president of the Sports Card and Memorabilia Expo, Steve Menzie. Steve, thanks for joining me. I know it's a busy time of the year. Now, for me, I've been going to the show for a long time, but I think for many people that maybe collected when they were younger, didn't realize that over the last 4 or 5 years, there's been a pretty big resurgence for sports card and sports memorabilia collecting. But for you, with regards to this show, how much has it grown in the last few years?
Oh, yeah, to your point, absolutely. It's just been a massive explosion in growth. So I took over the show at the end of 2015. So all the shows 2016 and post have been mine, and I literally, it's more than double the size in both in terms of square feet and in terms of attendance. In it, pretty much every quantitative and qualitative measure that you can be, the show has at least doubled. It's just been a crush of new people, of new renewed passions, and so on. A lot of people coming back to it, and a lot of new people being drawn into it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just feels like it's getting bigger and better every year. Now, as far as the sports celebrities and some of the athletes, we'll get into that momentarily. But when it comes to sports card collectors, what can people expect to see at the Spring Expo?
Well, certainly the biggest thing, and makes no one be surprised to hear this, is Upper Deck Series 2 is even bigger than Series 1, which is typically their lead product, on the back of young Connor Bedard. His Young Guns is out, and there's been, as you know, a ton of interest and hype around that. There's a $1 million US bounty on the Bedard 1 of 1. So there's a lot of hype. A lot of the promotions from Upper Deck around that are focused on Bedard. But so the usual sort of redemptions, but there has been every show since COVID has gotten progressively bigger and bigger, and there is still a ton of activity. So, despite some of the economic downturns, there's a lot of interest and excitement still for buying and selling on cards, mostly, but also on the memorabilia side. So, it's pretty great.
It's huge. Yeah, it is huge when it comes to the sports card side. And one of the highlights of the show, of course, is always the athletes and celebrities that you guys are bringing to the show so that people get to meet them and obviously get some memorabilia signed. Who are some of the athletes and celebs that we can expect to see at the Spring Expo?
It's going to be pretty exciting, as it was in the fall. I mean, after November and, I think Tyson, Carey Price, and the list that we had was pretty phenomenal. I think we're going to do just as well this time. We've got none other than Dennis Rodman kicking off, and a basketball legend and just a pop culture legend as well, whether by design or not. GSP has just been confirmed in the last couple of weeks. I'm a big UFC and GSP fan, so that's particularly exciting. We've been broadening our reach a little bit, so a lot of people question when we announced William Shatner, but he's such an iconic person in every walk of life that there'll be a lot of excitement around him. On the hockey side, we've got some great names as well, with Al McInnes, who I don't think has ever done a show, certainly not in the last 10 years. Solani, perennial favorites, Cujo and Felix Potman are there and doing well. We've got current Habs goaltender Sam Montembeault, and we've got Golden Glove Jays Kevin Kiermaier. He'll be coming in Friday before the afternoon game, so that's exciting, as well as a couple of other legends in George Bell and Dwayne Ward. And just checking my list because I don't want to forget a lot of other people. Warren Moon, no introduction needed. We've got not one of the Sutters. We've got 6 of the Sutter brothers, which is we need a whole new wing for those guys. Shooter McGavin, who needs no introduction as well. So that's interesting too, because it plays to the kind of the sports pop culture sort of crossover. And a whole host more. We've got a ton of vintage goalies that have generated way more interest than I had even imagined. So overall, it's a big and really well-rounded list that I'm super excited to bring.
Yeah, it's a lot of big names, as you
Yeah,
mentioned there. It is more than just a sports card show, as you said. There's a lot of pop culture crossover as well with people like William Shatner, as you mentioned. So, lastly, where can people get tickets if they want to attend the event?
yeah. Sportcardexpo.com is the website. Same handle on Instagram. And though it's called Sport Card, to your point, and I didn't touch on this earlier, but a big portion of the growth as well has been in non-sports. I'm sure you don't need any explanation that the growth of your TCG, like Pokemon in particular, but also Magic the Gathering and all the other TCG games, has been massive. And there's more and more of that happening, and more crossover pieces. So that part of it's super exciting as well. Lots of great breaks. There's the trade night. There's a lot of kids focused events and giveaways that eBay and Ultra Pro do. So yeah, it's something for everybody.
All right. Once again, the Toronto Sport Card Expo takes place April 25th to the 28th at the International Center in Mississauga at 6900 Airport Road. Should be great as always. Thanks for this, Steve.